Hello and welcome to Detective Poirot's world. Our detective is always fearless and dauntless. Poirot's brain is racing like a train on a fast track. After all, as the world's top detective, he's not one to just lounge around every day. So, based on all the bizarre clues he collected, Poirot finally realized that the identity of the deceased was indeed a kidnapping case that shook the nation. 2 years ago, the kidnapping of pilot Armstrong's daughter Daisy was truly an earth-shattering plot. Although the couple paid the ransom, little did they know that the bad guys had other plans and sent Daisy straight to her doom. This tragic tale, so haunting, drove her radiant mother to despair, resulting in a brutal double disaster. The husband, unable to bear the news, opted for a permanent nap. How deep and painful this love story is. The police, in their haste to close the case, pointed fingers at the maid, who had to fight for her life to prove her innocence. The mastermind, Cassetti, managed to escape with money, truly a marvelous villain. Poirot knows all this because Armstrong wrote to him for help, but by the time he arrived, all he found was a corpse. Therefore, based on his suspicion, Armstrong's family might be seeking revenge on her behalf, and undoubtedly, these threats serve as one of the most compelling pieces of evidence. This also explains why Ratchet sought him out as security early on. He thought the culprit was lurking among these ladders. Poirot encountered a special witness, Mrs. Harold, who woke him up. She saw a man in the dark last night. Poirot immediately asked how she confirmed it, and the woman responded, "By my superpower." She told the conductor to inspect her room's door, emphasizing the importance of uncovering the truth swiftly. Otherwise, there is a fear that everyone might start doubting the design of this train. I discovered a wrongly placed button right on my bed. A button clearly can't identify the culprit, so Poirot immediately sought out Ratchet's butler for answers. If someone drugged Ratchet's coffee, the butler would definitely be in the spotlight. However, Masterman's answer made Poirot's heart race. Turns out, he's terminally ill. He claimed he suffered insomnia every night, and his roommate could vouch for him. Surprisingly, all seemingly unrelated passengers had alibis. Everyone insisted they weren't wearing red pajamas. How bizarre is that? Nevertheless, Poirot caught the few details. The so-called car salesman looked more like a driver, and the preacher's woman had claws inappropriate for her identity. And the connection between the white teacher and the black doctor seemed undeniably suspicious. These details might not be directly useful, but they left Poirot scratching his head. Could the culprit have slipped away? But the untouched, snowy landscape outside only raised questions. How did the culprit escape? What if the culprits were two in cahoots, covering for each other and creating perfect alibis? Look, the Hungarian count and countess, along with the Russian princess and her maid, seemingly perfectly fit this bill. The elderly Russian noble even mentioned he called the maid for a massage last night and fell fast asleep. When Poirot mentioned the Armstrong case, the princess suddenly got emotional. Turns out she idolized Armstrong's mother, ultimately becoming her silent best buddy. But after the incident involving Key, this once inseparable best buddy completely vanished and utterly refused to talk to anyone. Poirot sought to verify the maid's testimony against the princess, so he pulled out that pricey handkerchief with the letter H on it. The maid took a quick glance and claimed she'd never seen such a handkerchief. However, her description was almost identical to the princess, except for the one detail that she mentioned being woken by another conductor in the middle of the night. Clearly, the perpetrator orchestrated this murder meticulously. Poirot speculated someone in a conductor's uniform was checking luggage, confirming passengers were resting. Another person, dressed in a bathrobe, slipped through the connecting door into Ratchet's room, explaining the mysterious figure Poirot saw. Now, if they could just find these two sets of evidence, they'd pin down the real culprit easy peasy. But in Poirot's suitcase, they bizarrely found a red bathrobe, clearly a clumsy frame-up. They found a conductor uniform in the maid's room, missing a button and equipped with a key. How convenient. The maid casually explained the clothing wasn't hers, but Poirot surely knew better. It smelled intensely like alcohol. The only loyal one was Ratchet's secretary, McQueen, and just then, the carriage door suddenly slammed. Poirot dashed out to intercept McQueen, who was about to flee. Even though he denied everything, Poirot found crucial evidence. It turned out McQueen siphoned off a fortune using plant tricks. One day Ratchet figured it out, and McQueen had him robbed out. This seemed like a classic impromptu money-making murder, yet McQueen's friend was more than happy to provide him with an alibi. They drank in the same cabin, so McQueen had no chance to commit the crime. This testimony further complicated the case. Yet Poirot discovered he had a new motive, definitely not about money, but a personal vendetta. Turns out McQueen's father was the prosecutor in the Armstrong case, publicly framing the maid as guilty.